If you need any Xbox or PlayStation codes or any cheap PC games, use the referral link in the description. It will take you over to g2a.com. They already have a discount on most of their goods, and if you use the code CHES at checkout, you can get yourself an extra 3% off as well. Hey guys, how's it going? Ches back again, and welcome to part 2 of the FIFA 17 career mode wishlist. If you missed the first part where we discussed a handful of things including player and manager contracts, then there's a link in the description to part number 1, or feel free to just check the channel page for it itself to have a look and see what we had to say about those things. Thank you for the incredible response on that first video, by the way. Very, very pleased with how it went down. Almost 1,000 comments of people either offering their feedback on what I'd said or offering their own ideas. I've taken a few of those ideas and I've got them written down here in a notepad document that I'm going to go through for today's episode. If there's anything that I haven't covered in part 1 or part 2 that you'd like me to have a look at, then make sure you leave your feedback in the comment section down below, and in a future part I will have a look at some more things as well. I'm going to do a part specifically for online career mode and a part specifically for my player as well. So if you'd like to have me discuss about certain things for either of those two, then make sure you stipulate, say, online career mode and then whatever, and then my player and then whatever, and then just normal career mode, and then leave your feedback so I can make I can see the difference between which ones are which in your comments, so I know which video to address those particular points in. Going to start off this week with player stat tracking, both your players and obviously players that play for other clubs as well. Currently, you can only see stats from your own players or your own league with regards goal scorers, assists, clean sheets, and disciplinary record with, of course, a yellow card and red card counter. But you can't see any stats from previous seasons, which is sometimes vital to see if a player is just having a one-off season or whether they've been a consistent performer throughout for another side or for your team as well, so you can know whether, shall I sell this player on? Has he had a poor season for me this year when he's been decent before? Has he had 2 or 3 poor seasons for me? If you can't remember, maybe I'll think about selling that player on if he's a consistent underperformer. But if you can't remember what happened 6 weeks ago or 3 months ago when you were in the previous season, then it's kind of hard to keep track. So player stat tracking for your own players would be crucial when it comes to knowing who to sell on, what positions to perhaps strengthen in if you've had not much ability from the players in a certain position. Like if your winger hasn't been getting loads of assists, then you might think, well, let's try and bring in a winger who has gotten loads of assists. But you can only tell how many assists a winger has got if they're in your league and are playing very well in domestic competition or are in a European competition that you're involved in, and you can see it there as well. If they're in a different league, you can't tell. You might think, I'm in the BPL, but I'd like to buy someone from a different country. Who's the top goal scorer in Serie A? Who's the top goal scorer in La Liga? Who's getting the most assists in the French league? There's absolutely no way for you to be able to tell that. Or even you might play against a team in Europe and they might have a player that scores 3 goals against you and gets a hat-trick, and you might want to see if they have been performing on domestic level or whether it's just a one-off game where they've just gone, I'll just score a fluky hat-trick here. What would be fantastic is if you could scout a player, say coming up to a January transfer window, and see how they've been performing this season. Yes, you can currently see their personal attributes and see how good a player they are, but are they performing at the club that they're at? How many goals have they gotten? How many assists or clean sheets have they gotten? What is their average match rating? You've no idea whether a player is going to be good for you or bad for you. You just have to take a punt and say, well, he's got good stats, but that's all I can tell. So if I use him as well as I can, then surely he might be a good player, but there's no way to tell. You can't see if a player's been in great form for 4 years, and you'd be an absolute cert to buy and bring him in and he'll do a wonderful job for you. A lot of that knowledge helps so much when picking out players to buy. You want to see what their average rating is and how well they've been performing on a consistent basis for a period of time. But at present, you can't, and it's just pot luck at present. So hopefully that could be added in. Also, the ability with your own players to see stats for loaned players that are in a different league. Say I'm at AC Milan, like we are currently in the series that's going on the channel, and I've loaned a player to the Premier League. Why can I not see how they're getting on in that loan spell? If I've sent someone out on loan and they're smashing the goals in and absolutely destroying a league, I can't tell. There's absolutely no way to tell. It just says Serie A, 0 games played. Copper Italia, 0 games played. I want to see how they're doing in their loan spell, so I know whether I might try them next season when they come back from loan, whether I might want to loan them out again, and whether I might want to sell them. If they're not performing for me, I've sent them out on loan. I want to know if they're performing for them. If they're not performing for them as well, then I'll know to sell them on. But at present, no idea whatsoever. So the ability to see stats from your own players that are loaned out in other leagues, and ability to see any player's stats and how they're getting on if you scout them, and obviously tying that in with last week's point about getting scout reports back that don't take a full month. So if you want to quickly try and see who's getting on well in a different league, or if a player is getting on well in a different league, you can scout them and just say get a week's scout report or a quick 48-hour scout report and see what's going on with them. That would be fantastic. Speaking of loan players, 1 or 2 extra little points to be added to the loan player situation, aside from the stats. If I loan a player to a club and that club plays against me, the player that I've loaned to them should be ineligible for that game. For example, Chelsea loaned Lukaku to West Brom. When West Brom played Chelsea, Lukaku wasn't allowed to play. So that should be a thing. It's just an added little bit of realism that would be fantastic. And also, with regards either loanees or new transfers in January, for example, cup tie ability should be in the game. If I've loaned someone to a club for the first 6 months of the season, they've played in the Capital One Cup, or they play in the FA Cup earlier on in the year, and they come back to me, they should be cup tied because they've already played for that club in that competition. Obviously, again, that goes hand in hand with transfers you bring in January. Someone's already played for someone in the Champions League or the Europa League or the FA Cup or the Capital One Cup or any other cup competition. They should be cup tied and ineligible for me, unavailable for selection for the next game in that competition. Just the little bits of detail that would make all the difference when coming to the immersion in a career mode series. At present, players that you don't use as much, or any young players you have at the squad, if you aren't able to train them, they get no playing time whatsoever, especially if you haven't been able to find them a loan deal, etc. What would be great is if you could select players to be available for an under-21 side. We don't need to go as in-depth to have an under-21s and an under-18s and an under-19s and an under-20s and, all of the various different ages. If you just have an under-21 side that you can select a player as available for from your first team squad, and those games could just be played in the background. They could just be simulated and just the computer can do it for you. But if you could select them as available, they could maintain a level of first team football to some degree and keep a small level of growth going, because if they're not playing then in any way, then they're not going to grow at all. So if you could select a certain player as available for the under-21s as well as still being available in my first team squad, then that would be great. And obviously you would have to take into account the fact that they've played for the under-21s, so their stamina levels wouldn't necessarily be at 100% all the time. But it would be great if you could set say you get a scout future star in, you sign them up from the youth squad, you can select them as available for the under-21s and they'll grow as well as they would do if they were playing in the first team every week, in case they're not quite good enough yet to go in your first team. You don't want to unnecessarily weaken your first team side to play a 16-year-old just to try and help them grow if you're training elsewhere with the training module. So the ability to select players to be available for an under-21 side of some description, or just a reserve side, any sort of side that isn't the first team squad essentially, would be fantastic. And then that could all just go on in the background, and the CPU could decide how well they play and how quickly they grow and how much stamina they have left, and when they're available for you, you can obviously select them whenever you like and continue that growth process that has been started by the reserve side. One thing that's a real bugbear for me, especially last year when I was doing the Cambridge United Road to Glory, was the fact that when you get promoted, the league badges on the shoulder of the kit that you're wearing don't change. Now obviously I'm aware that it might be a licensing issue for EA and they might not be able to do it, but if they could, it would be great that you go from League 2 to League 1, it doesn't say League 2 on your kit on the sleeves anymore. So you go from the Championship to the Premier League, the badge changes from a Championship Football League badge to the Premier League badge. Obviously the styling of the kits and the font on the kits is very specific for the Football League, and you probably wouldn't be able to change that again with licensing, I presume. Again, that may be the issue with the pads on the or the badges on the shoulder. If that is the case, then that's fine. But if they could say that's the case, that would be great. And then we'd stop asking for it. If they go, oh, we can't change the kits due to licensing, then we'd stop going, we'd stop having a go at them, because the fact that I'm in the Barclays Premier League with Cambridge United, it says League 2 on my shoulder. So just little things like that, again, to help improve the immersion in career mode would be absolutely fantastic. And that is a big bugbear of mine and a lot of you guys as well, because I know a lot of you do like to do your Road to Glory career mode series in the background, either on YouTube or away from YouTube. And obviously, it would be great if you could be in the Premier League and have a Premier League badge on your shoulder. Moving on from kits to stadiums. At present, there are obviously all of the Barclays Premier League stadiums in the game. A couple of stadiums from a few other leagues. Most notably, there's like 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 from La Liga, 1 or 2 from Serie A, a handful from Germany, etc. But with the default stadiums, if you were able to upgrade those, that would be absolutely brilliant. If they're their own created stadiums in-game, why can't we upgrade a stadium? If I'm, again, using Cambridge United as the example, if I'm at Cambridge United and I get promoted into the Premier League, I'm not going to be playing in an 8,000-seater stadium, am I? I'm going to need a bigger ground. So you should be able to upgrade your stadium with, set finance options available that the game will decide, set parameters. You can't just add like a giant 30,000 seater side stand whilst having the 3 little 2,000-seater stands around the rest of the ground. It would have to all be done throughout a due process as you upgrade slowly. But if they were able to add that to the game in some way, that would be fantastic. Or even say you want to again, licensing might be an issue here, but if you say you started at Chelsea and you wanted to have your own ground and not play at Stamford Bridge, then you could do that. That would be nice to have an option. Because you can select stadiums to play with. So if you could select rather than playing at Stamford Bridge, you could select Forest Park, or whatever it's called, and then you could upgrade your own stadium there. That would be brilliant. But again, with that particular idea, I'm not sure whether licensing would be an issue and whether the grounds or the clubs have to play at the ground that they're licensed to. I'm not sure. Again, if EA could, give us the information for that, then that would be fantastic. And then, again, we'd stop asking for it because we know the reason that it's not in the game. Taking the customizable stadium situation a step further, why not involve a full creator club option? I know people are crying out for a creator club option where you can build your own stadium, obviously using the way that we mentioned earlier on. Create your own kits. It doesn't have to be extremely detailed. It can be quite simple. Create your own default kits, home and away. Maybe an alternative one as well. Create your own badge, and maybe even, because I know you can do this on Pro Evolution Soccer to some extent, create your own stuff on Photoshop or in some sort of editing software, and then transfer that from your PC into the game. I've seen people have kits that they've had made by graphics guys that have then been able to put into the game and use that on Pro Evo. If you could add that functionality into FIFA for a creator club, that would be absolutely superb. And the final thing I'll mention in today's video is the simulating of matches. Currently, you sim a game and that's it. You have no other input other than selecting the starting 11. If they slowed that simulation process down, because it does go quite fast at present, but you can just skip it with the press of a button. If they slowed the simulation down so that you could make tactical changes, make a substitution, change formation, change player roles, etc., the same way you could if you were actually playing the game yourself, then that would be brilliant. Say you're 2-0 down, you want to switch to ultra attacking and go 4-2-4, but you're still sat there with your 3-5-2 or your 4-2-3-1, and you just have to sit and make do with the fact that you're 2-0 down and can't change anything. If you could change that, and obviously if you wanted to not do that, just press the skip button and skip to the end of the game and see what happened. But the ability to change the formation mid-game or any tactical changes mid-game and make a substitution, etc., that would be great, because sometimes you don't want to play a game. You could just simulate through, but you could still make the changes that you want to make to have the effect on the pitch that you need to have to win as many games as possible, rather than leaving it down to complete potluck and whatever the CPU decides to do. A couple little minor things to finish on. If they could add in the FIFA Club World Cup, that would be fantastic. Obviously, that is a big FIFA competition that gets no recognition whatsoever in the game right now. Also, if they could add in FIFA competitions as in individual awards like the Ballon d'Or, if you could see at the end of a season which players got into a team of the season starting 11. That would be great. Again, helping with seeing which players are doing well in each league rather than it just being like, oh, you're in the BPL, here's the BPL team of the season. I want to see who's in the Serie A team of the season, who's in the La Liga team of the season, etc. And if they could be like a Player of the Year award, like Jamie Vardy got it this year, Eden Hazard got it last year, if they could add that into the game, that would be absolutely fantastic as well. On the other side of that, moving away from actual individual awards and competitions like Club World Cup, etc., the ability to switch off / opt out of international management would be nice. Sometimes you just want to be a manager at a club level. You don't want to manage Bolivia or India or North Korea or South Korea or Japan or England or Portugal or Spain, but you get bombarded with these emails throughout the season. If you could just switch that off, that would be great. That's going to bring to a close part 2 of the FIFA 17 career mode wish list. Drop the video a like if you enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the points that we raised in this episode. Let me know also in the comment section down below anything you'd like me to bring up for either an online career mode specific video, a my player career mode specific video, or part 3 of the career mode wish list, which will probably go up Saturday. I'm gonna put this live Wednesday. So the last one went up Saturday lunchtime. This one will go up Wednesday evening, and then the next one will go up Saturday afternoon, maybe between the 12 p.m. My Player and the 4 p.m. AC Milan career mode, maybe a 2 p.m. upload or a little bit later, 6:30 in the afternoon, that sort of time. But that's going to be all for this one. So like I say, drop me a like, let me know all your feedback in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel too to make sure you don't miss out on any more FIFA 16 career mode stuff from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.